What's up, it's your boy Brian Cox on why ghosts might be real. If you don't know who Brian Cox is, he's like the British Bill Nye the Science Guy, but with better hair. In this video we will explore some theories I made up that might support a reason for ghost and paranormal activity being real, and what they actually are. I want to make clear that even though I have based these theories about ghost and paranormal activity on real scientific theories and facts, that this doesn't mean they are supposed to serve as proof of the existence of ghost or paranormal activity. I am also not in any way a scientist, just a lover of science. Because of this, I might be wrong about some things and would really appreciate it if anyone would correct me about my mistakes or point them out in the comments of this video. I want to make it clear, it is not my purpose to prove that ghosts are real. I just think this is a fun way to think about ghosts, paranormal activity and the reality we all live in, and hope it will help people see things from a little bit of a different perspective and get a little bit more interested in science. We know without a doubt that extra dimensions exist, and there's a real chance that there might be different kind of beings living and existing in those dimensions. So first, let's talk about what dimensions are. Now, I'm not an expert on this subject, but I will try to explain it in the simplest and easiest way I can think of. Again, if I get something wrong, please correct me in the comments, I would really appreciate it. So, dimensions. You can think about dimensions as the number of a coordinate. If there's only one number of a coordinate, like for instance 4, then this coordinate would be 1 point on a straight line and it would be one dimensional. If the coordinate has two numbers, like 4, 2, you now know the point is in between two lines. This makes that point two-dimensional. If your coordinate now has three numbers, like 4, 2 and 8, you now know it is in between three lines, which would make it three-dimensional. Now, this is the kind of world we live in. Officially we live in a four-dimensional world, with the fourth dimension being time, but let's gloss over that for now. So, the theory is that there are more dimensions in the universe. In fact, the quantum gravity theory posits that space-time is 10-dimensional, which would mean that there are 6 more dimensions, even though us humans can't observe them. But just because we can't observe them doesn't mean they don't impact us. There might be forces in these dimensions that do impact us, but we can't observe them properly because to observe them we would need to be able to observe more dimensions. There might even be beings that we cannot observe that are able to live in a multi-dimensional way. Now, all of this is purely a theory and none of this is actually proven, but the fact that there is the possibility of multiple dimensions is very exciting, and because we can't rule out that there are forces and maybe even living beings who operate with more dimensions than we do, might explain some paranormal activity. How and what would this look like? Well, let's imagine that you are a two-dimensional being for a second. If this would be the case, you would observe the world as a flat surface. You can only observe the length and width of that space, but not the height. Let's say there are already two boxes on that surface. Now, I, a being that interacts with the world in a three-dimensional way, puts one of those boxes on top of the other one. To you, magic would have happened, because one of the boxes would have disappeared. But in actuality, I just put one box on top of the other one. This is a good example of how beings or forces in other dimensions might do things to our world that we simply could not explain and would observe completely wrong. This, in my eyes, might be an explanation for some of the paranormal activity out there. Beside that, there's also the fact that we know that dark matter exists and that it is here on Earth. For the people who don't know what dark matter is matter we cannot observe. Now, why is this important? Well, we don't know anything about dark matter besides the fact it exists and that a very large part of the universe is made up of it. We don't know what kind of properties it has, and we don't know exactly what it does outside of the fact that the universe is made up of it, and we literally can't observe it. We don't feel it. Dark matter most likely goes through us at an atomical level. We don't see it as it doesn't interact with the light at all. It basically doesn't interact with any kind of substance or energy we can observe directly. But seeing as we know nothing about it, we also don't know if there's a possibility that there is life completely made up of dark matter. Now, this could explain paranormal events, because maybe it is just dark matter life interacting with our world. Now, you might think, well, how can dark matter interact with our world? You just said dark matter doesn't interact with any kind of energy or substance we can observe directly. Well, that is absolutely true, yes, but that doesn't mean dark matter doesn't interact with the universe. The way we know dark matter exists, for instance, is how it affects gravitational pull of objects we can observe. So even though we cannot observe dark matter itself, we can observe it interacting with other objects. In this same way, we might be able to observe the way dark matter beings interact with other things instead of being able to observe them directly. In other words, paranormal activity might just be dark matter beings interacting with the world, and instead of us observing the being itself, we only observe the interaction, which sounds a lot like paranormal activity. So these are my two theories about how ghosts might be real. I hope you enjoyed the video. This was your boy Brian Cox. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment on this video. See you later.